Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an interview with BJP General Secretary Arun Jaitley. Mr. Jaitley, in part one we talked about how the BJP was deliberately inflaming separatist sentiment. You disputed it. I insisted that was how the Valley saw it. What's perhaps even more inexplicable is that in those very circumstances now, your former party president Venkaiah Naidu is claiming that Jammu is underrepresented and unfairly treated by the political system, that it hasn't got an adequate representation in the State Assembly. Is this the right time at which to raise such emotional, political, sensitive issues?
Well, let's first know the facts. Today, you have in Jammu more number of voters numerically, and yet they are underrepresented in the Assembly. They have lesser jobs as far as state government is concerned. They have lesser admissions as far as colleges are concerned. Now, the entire movement in Jammu, maybe because of land at the moment, but there's a huge sense of discrimination the people have. The government must address that sense of discrimination at certain
Once
stages.
again, I allowed you to present the facts as you see them, and I'm sorry, but you've got the facts wrong. The truth is that if you go by the registered voters, no doubt Jammu has more registered voters than the Valley, but you know and I know that because of the militancy and because of the violence, there's huge under-registration in the Valley. So instead, go by the total population. That's how constituencies are divided as well. And if you look at that,
well, I find that ridiculous what you say.
Let me finish. If
you
go by the total population, you'll discover that there are 46 MLAs in Kashmir, 37 in Jammu, but for every MLA, there is 119,000 people in both regions, which means that the division is done perfectly in accordance with the population. It's not unfair. It's totally justified.
Now you've made a point. This appeared in a story in the Hindu. That's where you got the data from. And you must now know the true facts. 1951, there was no census in J&K. 1961, Kashmir had 3 lakh people more than Jammu. 71, it had 3 lakh people more. 81, again it had 4 lakh people more. 91, there was no census. So 4 lakh more in 81. Between 81 and 2001, you had Kashmiri Pandits being pushed out. You had the Sikhs being pushed out. You have the wealthier Muslims also being pushed out because they found it unsafe. So the population of Jammu would have increased. Instead, the 2001 census, a rigged census, I reiterate, showed 11 lakhs more in the Valley, which should have come down. So the Election Commission said, we'll go door to door and conduct a registration of voters. In militancy, you can register people in terms of population. You can also register voters. And suddenly you find Jammu has more voters. Today you have an incongruous situation where Valley has more registered people through that census of 2001, but effectively 2.5 lakh less voters.
It's very interesting that today you're raising disputes about the credibility of the 2001 census, which you call a rigged census. You happen to be the government in power at the time when the census was declared. Why did you not express these doubts earlier? Why are you conveniently raising them today?
I am sorry. This is when the facts belie your contention and claim. You are now coming to a question, why didn't you raise it?
It's not the facts, it's your interpretation. There's a different thing. It's not facts, it's interpretation.
I have given you the figures from 1961 to 2001.
Population can change in 20 years.
Well, population of Doda, Kishtwar and Bhadrwa, which were the Muslim majority districts of Jammu, did not change, but population of Valley changed.
If the population of New York can jump because of 12 hours and one night of power failure, and you know that that's happened, surely in 20 years the population can change as well.
Surely you've been reading the newspapers in the last 20 years. People migrated out of the Valley, did not migrate into the Valley.
Why?
So population should have come down. It couldn't have increased 11 lakhs.
But if it's a rigged census, why did you not raise this concern when you were in power? It happened in your time.
I'm sorry, this has been raised at every stage. The Jammu people have raised it. I was a part of one of the working groups in the Prime Minister's roundtable. I have raised it in writing there.
Is this, however, leave the facts aside, because there's going to be a difference of interpretation, there's going to be a difference of motivation.
There is no scope for interpretation.
And you know what Churchill said about statistics. They come after lies and damned lies.
Well, the number of voters in Jammu is 2.5 lakhs more. But how does the Valley have more people?
Why at the most sensitive time, when the Valley is inflamed, when the divide between Jammu and Kashmir is at its worst, why raise it now?
Well, I think your heart bleeds not for Jammu, only for the Valley. You must also realize...
My heart bleeds for India.
Your heart must bleed for India.
Yours doesn't. Yours only bleeds for the BJP.
Sorry, your vision and policies have been responsible for what has happened in Kashmir. As far as Jammu is concerned, it is crying of discrimination. This is a strong ground of discrimination, and you want to shut a popular debate out on this issue.
It's not that it's a popular debate, it's that the BJP is deliberately exploiting a situation to gain electoral benefit. You are
I am afraid if statistics suit Jammu, it hurts some people.
Can I finish the question? You're so blinded by your belief that by jumping onto the Jammu bandwagon, you can improve your electoral prospects for the next election.
I'm afraid not.
That you don't care what happens to the valley. You're putting the BJP before the country, and that's what I'm accusing you of.
I am putting the country before, and that is why I am deeply concerned about 60 years of policy where this separate status concept of Kashmir has led to a movement towards separatism. I think the history will make a cruel judgment one day. Was the Nehruvian vision right on Kashmir? Was Dr. Mukherjee's vision right? And I'm sure both of us will await that judgment.
I'm glad you brought up history. Today, many people in India believe that India could be at the brink of losing the valley forever. If that were to happen, history will judge that the BJP was the person that gave the valley the first push into the arms of Islamabad.
Well, the history will then say this will not happen. This will not happen because I am one of those who firmly believe Azadi is not even a distant dream for those separatists. It's an impossibility. India will not and should not even compromise with an inch of its territory.
The tragedy is that the BJP may make a distant dream of reality.
I am therefore not going to get into the blame game, though I firmly believe the Congress even today must correct 60 years of error into which it has fallen.
All right, Mr. Jaitley, I'll let you have the last word. A pleasure talking to you on Devil's Advocate.